President Joe Biden's administration on Monday asked the U.S. Supreme Court to block a Texas law that imposes a near-total ban on abortion after a lower court reinstated the Republican-backed measure. The Justice Department told the justices in a filing that the Fifth Circuit Appeals Court action, quote, enables Texas's ongoing nullification of this court's precedents and its citizens' constitutional rights, and asked the Supreme Court to quickly reverse the decision. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Monday said Biden will fight to protect a woman's right to a safe and legal abortion.
He continues to believe that Roe v. Wade is the law of the land. He supports efforts to codify Roe v. Wade, and he is going to fight efforts. Obviously, the Department of Justice will be in the lead on that, against efforts to prevent women from having access to fundamental rights that they should have to protect their own health and make decisions about their own health.
The Texas measure, one of a series of restrictive abortion laws passed at the state level in recent years, bans the procedure after about 6 weeks of pregnancy, a point when many women do not even realize they are pregnant. The Texas measure makes an exception for a documented medical emergency, but not for cases of rape or incest. The justices on September 1st, in a late-night 5-4 decision, allowed the law to go into effect. The Supreme Court has a 6-3 conservative majority.
The president is certainly feeling an urgency to move things forward, to get things done. I think you've seen that urgency echoed by members on the Hill who agree that time is not unending here, and we are eager to move forward with a unified path to deliver for the American people. Tomorrow, he will host 2 different meetings with House members here at the White House, one with moderates and one with progressive members. We're encouraged by the accelerated pace of talks and are eager to get this done to meet the urgent needs of families who have been contending with high costs, outdated physical infrastructure, the increasingly devastating threat of climate change, and a tax system that gives special treatment to the rich and corporations at the expense of middle-class families, no matter how hard they work.
Colin Powell dedicated his extraordinary life to public service because he never stopped believing in America. And we believe in America in no small part because it helped produce someone like Colin Powell.
Tributes poured in Monday for former Secretary of State and top military general Colin Powell, who died at age 84. Current Secretary of State Antony Blinken called Powell's life a victory for the military, the nation,
and in a larger sense, a victory for the American dream.
President Joe Biden described Powell as, quote, a dear friend and a patriot of unmatched honor and dignity who, quote, embodied the highest ideals of both warrior and diplomat. Biden added that Powell could also, quote, drive his Corvette Stingray like nobody's business. Powell served under 3 Republican presidents as National Security Advisor for Ronald Reagan, Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs for George H.W. Bush, and as Secretary of State for George W. Bush. And he was the first black person to serve in each of those roles, Vice President Kamala Harris noted on Monday.
Every step of the way, when he filled those roles, he was, by everything that he did and the way he did it, inspiring so many people.
George W. Bush recalled that many presidents relied on Powell's counsel, adding he was, quote, such a favorite of presidents that he earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice. But it was under Bush that Powell delivered what he later called, quote, a blot that would always be part of his record, making Bush's case to the UN Security Council that Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was hiding weapons of mass destruction.
Iraq's behavior demonstrates that Saddam Hussein and his regime have made no effort to disarm as required by the international community.
It was the basis for the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Powell later admitted that his presentation was rife with inaccuracies provided by others in the administration. In 2008, Powell broke with his party to endorse Democrat Barack Obama. Obama on Monday called Powell an exemplary soldier and patriot, adding, quote, although he'd be the first to acknowledge that he didn't get every call right, his actions reflected what he believed was best for America and the people he served. Powell died of complications from COVID-19. He had previously been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a blood cancer that was in remission, and early-stage Parkinson's disease, a close friend of his told Reuters. The blood cancer reduces the body's ability to fight infection and puts people at higher risk for severe COVID. In a brief statement, the Powell family said he had been fully vaccinated and thanked the staff at the Walter Reed Medical Center who treated him.
Former President Donald Trump testified under oath on Monday for a videotaped deposition at Trump Tower, where protesters who have brought a civil lawsuit against Trump allege they were assaulted by his security team in 2015. Attorney Benjamin Dichter represents the protesters who brought the lawsuit.
We examined Mr. Trump concerning a variety of issues, including statements he has made at various campaign events and rallies that counsel believes encouraged violence at those events or encouraged security guards to engage in violence or the confiscation of property.
The plaintiffs allege Trump's security guards attacked them on the sidewalk outside Trump Tower in Manhattan as they demonstrated over the then presidential candidate's comments that Mexican immigrants were criminals and rapists.
They're bringing crime, they're rapists.
This is an important matter because everybody here is a New Yorker, and New Yorkers know that the public sidewalks are sacred. Just because someone's name is on the building does not mean that they get to dictate what happens on the public sidewalk.
Trump said in a statement he was pleased to have provided testimony in the case, writing, quote, "After years of litigation, I was pleased to have had the opportunity to tell my side of this ridiculous story. Just one more example of baseless harassment of your favorite president." Trump faces several civil lawsuits over conduct from before and during his presidency. He is also expected to undergo questioning in a defamation lawsuit filed by a former contestant on The Apprentice in December.
A mixed performance on Wall Street Monday as optimism ahead of tech earnings battled worries about slower economic growth in China. The Dow fell for the first time in 4 sessions. The S&P 500 rose just 15 points. The Nasdaq jumped 124. One main ongoing concern for investors, inflation. Investors are waiting for more corporate results to hear how inflation is impacting earnings, says Patrick Fruzetti. He's a managing director for the Rose Advisors at Hightower.
First half of the year, we heard a lot of management teams talking about the back half of the year and what was going to pressure margins. So not only in certain businesses like industrials do you have commodity margin pressures, you also have labor margin pressures. And I think we're seeing that across the board. And we'll see that spill over to earnings, but ultimately guidance for 2022. And I think that's what we'll hear a lot about in this coming week and couple of weeks ahead of us.
Good morning.
Apple was one of the bright spots in company news. The world's most popular gadget maker unveiled new Mac laptops with more powerful computing power and a new model of its popular AirPod at an event on Monday. Shares of Apple rose more than 1%. But shares of Walt Disney held back the Dow. The entertainment conglomerate stock rating was downgraded at Barclays, who is worried about slowing growth at the Disney Plus streaming service. Shares of Disney fell 3%. Netflix, the leading streaming service, rose ahead of its quarterly results due on Tuesday. On the economic front, industrial output fell by the most in 7 months since September, following a drop the month before, as the global supply shortage continued to hurt auto manufacturing and crimp the overall economy. Good news, though, from the housing sector. Home builder sentiment rose by the most in nearly a year as buyers continue to show up despite a lack of construction supplies and rising interest rates that are driving prices higher. Zillow, however, is having trouble buying and flipping properties, so it's going to pause that business. Shares of the online real estate agent tumbled to a 1-year low.